thinking of you wherever you are. We pray for our sorrows to end, and hope that our hearts will blend. Now I will step forward to realize this wish.
Well, hello everyone, how are we doing? How's it going? Well there. Eternal GM, thank you for the 9 months, and the 10 months for Absolute. And 10 months for Super Jaws also. Am I drinking Sprite while doing Sprite editing? That'd be a much better idea. I just have water. Boring. Well, honestly, what I'm doing can scarcely be called sprite editing, to be fair. Like, it's not, or at least it's not sprite art or animation. I am getting sprite asset, like getting assets of the Final Fantasy V sprites assembled and put together for proper upscaling, exporting, saving, and use in the eventual Final Fantasy V animation video. And usually that's a bit of a tedious task for Final Fantasies 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 escalates things somewhat. Just because of sprite count. Have we finished Final Fantasy V yet? It's been a while. We haven't. We got like halfway through it, and I was tempted, like, since I just finished my most recent New Frame Plus video, and Final Fantasy V animation is the next one I'm going to be jumping onto, I was trying to decide whether I should do a little stream today of just working on some of the sprite stuff I got to do, or continuing to capture footage of it. The thing is, I feel like I need to dig in a little further on some of the footage stuff I've been gathering for 5, because I am a little worried that what I've, like, I think I might need to just go ahead and get the rest of the footage captured off stream just to ensure I'm getting what I'm needing quality-wise, and also so I can move faster because I don't want to make the video take longer to come out. So the rest of that footage capture may happen off camera. We'll see. I don't know. But at some point we'll do a Final Fantasy V playthrough on Playframe to properly actually do a story run through the thing instead of spacing it out, half of it out over 10 months or whatever. Now hold up. While I was explaining what I was doing, y'all got up to some nonsense. So hold up. Brave Othello, thank you very much for the 10 months, which is almost a year. Like, literally, though. And thank you also, Mail Millet, for 10 months. And then also, Brave Othello with 10 gifted subs, which is so kind and generous. Thank you very much. That's so many. Thank you for the 10 months also, Star Tracings. And you, 8 months, for Kasha Golin. I love you guys and your work, and Carrie helped my 7-year-old niece get through parts of games, and it's so nice knowing it's a Let's Play I can watch with her and not worry about language, just chill vibes. You're very, very welcome. I'm very glad that you and your niece enjoy it. And I should definitely stress that the current Playframe playthrough of Final Fantasy 16 is absolutely not one for the 7-year-old niece. Let me just get out in front of that before that becomes a problem. She should skip that one. But I'm very, very glad that you both enjoy it. Thanks for the 5 months, Miege33. And welcome, everybody. She loves bug snacks at Little Gator? Hey, same. And I'm glad. I'm very glad she's enjoying those. It's super sweet that various folks watch some of our playthroughs with, like, their kids or nieces or just whatever the relation. I think that's really sweet. Final Fantasy 16 is the only Final Fantasy game on your shelf with an 18+ rating in Europe and PAL. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's the only M-rated Final Fantasy. I think? That may not be 100% right. It's definitely the most M-rated Final Fantasy so far. Very M-rated. While we're doing warm fuzzies about how chill you guys are, I want to thank both you and the community. I've had a very hard year, and your backlog and how nice everyone is have been a huge comfort. Oh, I'm glad we've been comforting. Sorry, it's been a hard year, of course, but I am very glad that we've been able to provide some comfort, at least during those times. And I hope that those times ease up a bit in the near future for you. Hey, thank you for the 10 months, Lord Tridon. Back on that purple site, indeed. And Verity Engineer with 10 months as well. And longtime Twitch just subscribed. Thank you very much as well. You're all too kind. Stranger of Paradise is M-rated? Yeah, that makes sense, actually. That tracks. And Final Fantasy Type 0? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Well, I guess the rating depends on which like region you're in. Even so. As M ratings go, I feel like 16 is leading the charge. Anyway, so yeah, let's swap over to the work area a little bit, such as it is. Here, I'll catch you up on what I'm up to over here. This is Bartz. Say hello to Bartz. So, Final Fantasy V has really ups the ante on character animation, which is great. There are so many sprites and poses for the characters in 5. Less great for me, needing to actually prepare those sprites for being put in a video and looking all nice and high-res and crisp. So, to show you kind of what I'm doing here, our boy Bart's... I'm gonna shrink this down a little bit. No, that's not gonna help. I'll just leave it be. Hey, 5 gifted subs. Well, you thought you could get away with that while I wasn't looking? No. Thank you very much, Mevele. That's Very kind of you. And also, speaking of folks trying to just slip past, look at you lot. Eribnon with 10 months. Kuzel 2? Is it Kuzel 2? I think so. With 7 months, thank you very much. Stalactahedron with 8 months and Blue Amber 14 with 10. You're all too kind. But yeah, so what we're doing here, the sprites in Final Fantasy V are usually coming around 2 sizes. You've got the 16 by 16 sprites for the overworld map. That's what you're looking at here. And then you've got also the 16 by 24 sprites. Oh god, there we go. Like this one here for the battle screen. Now, on the did I hear a zone? I think I did. Thank you for the zone. The world map's not so bad. It is more emotes, like more poses than normal, because not only have we got like the walking sprites, right, left and right, the back-facing walking sprites, and the side-facing ones as well. We've also got all the emotes, which is what Final Fantasy V really goes ham on. It's one of the things that Final Fantasy V goes ham on. So many more world screen poses for emotes and story purposes, which is phenomenal for the game, less so for me on account of how much work I'm gonna have to do on all these. I've only done Bart's so far for these 16 by 16s. I'm still working on Bart's here. I haven't even got to the other characters yet. Got all the world sprite sizes done on this one though. Over here, the other thing that makes this daunting is that there's sprites, a full set of sprites for every character, for every job. So that's a lot of them. What am I editing them for? Mostly I'm getting them all compiled in a Photoshop file here so I can scale them all up and export them and have each one of these sprites at a high resolution for using in the video without them looking all blurry or messy or like inconsistent. This is a thing that I started doing with the first Final Fantasy video because a lot of the sprite sheets I was finding were inaccurate and it was bothering me. So, like either they were really inconsistent with the color palette they were using, so like the reds of one character were not the same reds as you'd get in another character, and it's an NES. It doesn't got a lot of reds. But the other problem was that like sometimes just like the pose count is inaccurate too, or the poses are in there incorrectly. Like a lot of the sprite sheets I've seen for Final Fantasy I have the like forward-facing walk sprite of the character. They have the character, it basically just be this sprite but flipped for the left foot stepping forward, and that's not correct. Because like the bottom half of the body does flip, but the top half stays aligned, because if you flipped this sprite you see right here, Bart's hair would change direction, and it doesn't do that, just his legs, right? So those, like, I was getting irritated at how incorrect a lot of the sprites were, and I was wanting a chance to be able to make sure that I could catch the inaccuracies, get the color palette consistent across the lot. It was annoying. Fortunately, once we get up to the Super Nintendo era, the color palette is so much wider that color inconsistencies are less noticeable or less of an issue. I still need to be able to get all these isolated and upscaled though, is the problem. I'm seeing comments about my perfectionism in chat, and they're not wrong. Guilty. But unfortunately, this is the only way to get all these sprites in and upscaled at a proper size. So so far, I think on Bart's, for the combat jobs, I've gotten up through, what do we got here? We got Bard is done, Beastmaster is done, Berserker's done, Black Mage is done, and done is stretching it a bit. I still need to actually like export all these once they're all in and correctly placed and sized and all that, but whatever. Blue Mage, Chemist, Dancer, Dragoon, Freelancer, Geomancer, Knight, Mime, Monk. Mystic Knight is, I think, where I left off. I think. What's going on? I'm just preparing all the sprites from Final Fantasy V for use in my video about the animation for Final Fantasy V. And there's so many sprites. Y'all are getting up to more nonsense, I think. You were. Artem Matthew, thank you for 10 months. That was like 5 minutes ago. I'm behind. Iskar Jarok, thanks for 10 months as well.
Nah.
And then it looks like Zote, Pichu, and the King of All Cosmos started arguing for a bit. Final Fantasy V has a job system, doesn't it? It does, and that's where a lot of these sprites are coming from. That's also what makes it one of the most fun retro Final Fantasies to like play combat system-wise. Again, good for the game, bad for me. Maybe I did Mystic Knight already. Let's look. Neutral looks okay. By the way, this, if you're wondering about like the green and the black outline here, that's just the framing I've been using when trying to get these placed correctly. I'm using the actual window here as an extra pixel larger on either side than what the sprites are. I just needed to be able to have something for kind of reference, so that green backdrop and the border here are just helping me out. Let's see, we got neutral, walk, right hand attack, left hand attack, both poses of it, spellcast 1 and 2, defend, hit, victory pose, and wounded. Do I have KO in here? No, that's right. KO, that sprite only exists for the freelancer job. So that's one thing. That's one way in which this game's going easy on me. As soon as any character gets knocked out, they default to their freelancer skin. That's their default one, basically. I'll take what I can get. All right, Mystic Knight's done then. Cool. Next up is Ninja then. So here's what the process looks like. I've been grabbing sprites from the best, most accurate looking resources I can find for sprites for these characters, and then bringing them in to Photoshop. They're very small, as you can see. This is part of why I'm doing some of this scaling up work. They're very little. Look at y'all still doing subscriptions and whatnot. Thank you very much. Give me a username for the 10 months. And Arc Flash Hazard for 10 months as well. Dan analyzing animations has achieved its peak of absurdity, forcing him to actually decompile a game. I'm ready to be outside of the pixel era of Final Fantasy games. It's been fun to talk about, but the nice thing about getting up to Final Fantasy VII, even though there will be more animation to talk about, at least I won't be able to, or have to, do this. It's gonna look good in the video, though, and that's what matters. That's 7. You can cloud source it. Shame on you. Sorry if my audio quality is a little lower than normal. I'm leaving the AC running because it's very hot outside. Too late to ask if I've tried a sprite for pixel art. I've not done that, but mostly because, like, for my precise purposes here, I think a sprite is more than I actually need. Really, all I'm needing here is to be able to get the sprites in and positioned correctly and just make sure they're accurate. So, like, let's see, this is the attack left, pose. Let's just grab this. Is copying and pasting gonna work? We'll find out. And it's been a while since I did some of this sprite editing. There we go. Okay, nope, that's too big. Why is that big? Why is that big? It's larger than I thought. Sorry, it's been a while since I actually did this process. I did a ton of it before we moved, while I was still working on the Final Fantasy V video, and then I started working on a bunch of other videos, and now I'm back to this one. Yeah, these are larger than I thought. Oh, that's probably part of what I had to do. I think I had to, yep, that's what I had to do back in the day when I was working on this last. Drop that down, please. Not automatic. Well, I guess automatic's probably fine in this case, but nearest neighbor. There we go. Sweet. Okay, now. To get ourselves in the rhythm. Let's just close this. I don't need the 16 by 16 sprites right now. I don't think we're gonna get to any more 16 by 16 sprites today. Got all of Bartz's jobs. There we go. So that is attack R1. Okay. So how are y'all doing? Get ready for a lot of this. Are you going to talk about the visuals of the remakes of the various early Final Fantasy games, including 5? Have you already done that in the previous videos? The stream made me think of this question. Yes, I have talked about, on New Frame Plus, my YouTube channel, I have talked about the animation in Final Fantasies 1 through 4, and 5 is the next one. And I'll be going through the rest. And it's a fun series to do. And I've been working on this series for a very long time, prepping for it, so my perfectionism has kicked a little bit more into more high gear than usual. Because I really want this, after all this time, to turn out well. Alright, got those. Spell cast time. Let's go ahead and shrink this down to the correct size. Boom. Okay. These are the 2 spell cast poses. What changes in this one? That looks identical. Hang on, did I grab the wrong one? I did. Oops. That's why. Glad I checked. There we go. There's the change. There's your sprites. He's chanting, see, he's casting the spell. How do you expect the ninja to cast the spell if he can't move his little ninja mouth? Defend pose. Wait, what scale is that at? Wrong. There we go. Now. Defend. Have I heard about Dave the Diver? As an animation guy, I think you'd want to check it out. I've heard about it, but I haven't looked at it yet. I need to, though. So while I've been making these videos, you started following a Let's Play of all the mainline Final Fantasy games. They make a fun companion series for each other. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's, honestly, that's, in some cases, going to be way more fun than actually playing through them all like I had to. Sometimes you're missing out. Sometimes not so much. What's the editing needed here exactly? Right now, honestly, not a lot. It is mostly just getting all of, like, I think these sprites are all looking more or less okay. I've had to do a lot less editing in the Super Nintendo era, fortunately. Right now, it's mostly just getting them scaled correctly, added to this document, aligned correctly, so that when I export them, kind of the center point and ground floor, basically, for where all these characters are standing is consistent and exact, so that when I, upscale all of these, like, 1000% or more, and save them out as PNG files to bring into Premiere, they are all consistent in their placement, which will also make it to where I can easily animate the sprites as much as I want to, so that I can, for like animating the spellcast, I can just literally bring both of these sprites in and alternate between them, and their placement and size and everything will be exact, and it'll just be like, it's doing a lot of work now so that I can do a lot more in the video later, way more easily, and it'll look good. Would dedicated Pixelite software help? Like, maybe, but since I'm actually having to do very little editing or creating, or if I was actually animating something, then yeah, I'd probably work in something like Sprite. But since this is mostly just kind of compiling and resizing, Photoshop works just fine. So, okay, we got defend in there. Great. Hit react. Yes. Very good. I was going to recommend Sprite anyway, because you can export the whole sprite sheets into single files and scale them up pixel perfect. Really? I should dig into Sprite more. Because it could be that there are some parts of this process that Sprite actually would make way better. And easier. This is just a process I've gotten pretty familiar with. And as a bonus, I've got basically all of these created now, and like New Frame Plus patrons, I'm basically just giving these files to. So if any of them want, for whatever reason, all of the character sprites from Final Fantasies 1 through 6, patrons are, I'm just giving them out. So. Hope the smoke's not too bad down south where I'm at. I'm in Burnaby, British Columbia, which is still south to someone, but not too bad. Maybe it's further south than you are. I'm not sure. It's way hot everywhere, but especially in a town where air conditioning is not standard. Too hot, I'd say. Where was I? Hit reacts, yes. Sorry if I missed stuff in chat, by the way. I'm kind of bouncing attention between a few different things and actually trying to make a little progress on this instead of just hanging out. Though the hanging out is very fun. So, okay, this is victory. Let's get victory added in here. Victory pose 1, which is just the idle. This is just idle. This is neutral. Okay. Get that ordered correctly. And victory pose 2. There we go. Happy Ninja. How far behind am I on thank yous? I suspect a little bit. Visiting from the VODs, thank you for the 10 months. I think I missed that earlier. Oh, you're in Prince Rupert, just south of the bottom of the Alaska Panhandle. So yeah, you are north of me, aren't you? No, not too bad smoke. I mean, I'll look out the window. No, still mostly blue skies out there, just too hot. Are these custom sprites for the video? I mean, custom is probably stretching the term beyond the reality of it. These are mostly just sprites for the video, but I'm needing to set them up to export them to get them all nice and high res and looking nice in the video. But I'm not like customizing the sprites or doing sprite art here. I don't mean to at all imply that what I'm doing here is in the same wheelhouse as an actual pixel artist or animator. See, I think I've already got neutral and walk. I don't have wounded yet. Wounded. That's too big. No. Resize it. Hey, thanks for the 10 months. Cap Steph Barnes. And the 8 months, McTwin. Almost missed you. Thank you both. Did I resize that correctly? I think I did. Just in case. Yes. Good. Okay. Okay. Need to drop that down. There we go. Tweaking, if you will. Yep, pretty much. Ooh, is there a new Pikmin 4 demo? How is it? I'm excited to give it a I imagine once Pikmin 4 drops, I'll do a one-off of it. That'll probably make a good Wednesday. What else am I missing here? Got the neutral pose, pretty sure. Triple check. Yeah, that looks right. Oh, wouldn't you know it? Prinny wants out of the office. Who could imagine? All right, Prinny, all right. Just a weekly basis. Cat is free. Am I excited for the remake of Super Mario RPG? Yeah, that's something I didn't see coming. And it looks really cool. Like the style they've chosen for it really works, I think. Okay, let's see. Hey, thanks for the 6 months. GJ, 1988. Let's see. I've got wounded. I've got neutral. Left attack. That's what I'm missing still. Okay. Something's looking off a little bit. Whoa, that's not looking right. Something got scaled very badly there. Yes, okay. Did nearest neighbor bite me on that? Oh, I slightly moved this sprite a little bit. That's why. Okay. Gotta be careful of that. I'm really happy using a tablet for a lot of little stuff like this, but every now and then, the lack of precision, the accidental moving of things when I mean to just select them, drives me a little batty. That looks better. Okay. Get these named right, and then I think Ninja's done. Okay. I think it is. Got neutral, walk, attack R1, attack left 1 and 2, spellcast 1 and 2, defend, hit, victory, wounded. Yes, that's all of them. Great. Another one in the bag. Rangers up. And the process continues. I mean, this is how small these things are by default. You can see why I'm having to do a little work to get them all nice and look at-able. I have a 32-inch 8K display for production work, and on that screen, without scaling, these sprites would be 0.087 inches tall. Yep, it's not workable. All right, these are not the right size. There we go. Okay. Attack R1. And attack R2, which is just the walk pose. Boy, I sure do know a lot more about the poses in Final Fantasy games than I originally planned to in life. Spell casting. Let's see. How's music level, by the way? I had to turn it down a bit from how super loud I had it for the music stream last time around. Music's good? Excellent. Reminds me of how I feel about Skyrim. I think I know more about how the game works than the actual game itself just from messing around with the mods. That's a fun side effect of dabbling in stuff like that. Let's see, we got spellcasting, defending. Hit react. What good little sprites. They get a lot done with 16 by 24 pixels. May I have permit to post a link to Silva Gunner's Shop Animation Collab YouTube video? Yeah, go for it. If I can remember how. It's been so long since I actually had to do that functionality. Oh, that's how you do it. Thanks, Yen. The Moonview Highway remix is so good. Alright, we got the hit. We need the victory, which is... Alright, yeah, there's the neutral idle pose. Nice work on the Zelda animations thing. Very interesting and educational. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I am happy with how it turned out, and happy also with how fast it came together. I'm still trying to... Like, after this Final Fantasy V video, that'll take longer than a couple of weeks, for sure. I'm wanting to try seeing how fast I can make the next one again. Maybe just kind of like alternating between these bigger ones and smaller topics to see if I can... start remembering how to make short, like, not shorter videos, but videos that are faster to make now and then. Walk pose, I think we got that already. Yes. Wounded, okay. Go. Question, do I plan on visiting We Love Katamari reroll in the channel? I'd love to see you do the Royal Reverie levels. I'm probably, at some point, maybe just the Royal Reverie levels, since we already did We Love Katamari on the channel, and that, like, I think the Royal Reverie stuff is the only new content in there. So I'll have to figure out how to access those, but then, yeah, that could be a fun thing to do for a episode or two, right? Something like that. Let's see. got the neutral one. Just need these. Okay. Got that already. And there's Ranger done, I think. Pretty sure. I suppose I should just keep the list from the previous character up still so I can make sure there's nothing I'm missing here. Usual walk, R1, L2, or L1, L2. Spellcast 1, 2. Defend, hit, victory, booty. Yep. Red mage time. So much chat. Speaking of shorter to create, how long did the Tears of the Kingdom Link animation video take to put together? So it took probably, I think no more than 40 hours total. Probably a little less, probably closer to 32, which is good. I'm trying to, like, I've been trying to figure out a way to make smaller kinds of New Frame Plus videos I can make that I can produce much more quickly in between some of these larger ones. And my, like, unrealistic target is trying to come up with a concept for a video that I can produce within 8 to 12 hours that is short, perhaps, but still, like, has some substance and is interesting. It doesn't feel like it's a, like, huge reduction in quality. I don't think that's entirely possible. I think, like, 16 hours is probably the minimum amount of work that I could hope to do for the minimum amount of time I would need to get a decent video made, but I'm targeting shorter just to see, because inevitably the scope increases. So, like, I was trying to come up with a video concept I could do in a single, like, work day effectively, and ultimately this Link one took 3 or 4. Which is fine. Like, I'm happy with how the video turned out, and it's still way faster than some of my other videos have taken recently. But I'm still wanting to keep on aiming for smaller to keep on kind of experimenting and seeing what I can manage. Because I don't love only being able to put out like 3 or 4 videos a year, at best, which is what it's kind of been lately. I'm proud of those videos, but I want to be able to make some more smaller things in between, right? Okay, red mage a time. Let's see. Oh, you really enjoyed the premiere yesterday, Kurturp. I'm glad. I did that sort of on whim, because I'd never tried doing it before. I enjoyed it too. I'll probably premiere New Frame Plus videos on YouTube henceforth. Just as a fun little celebratory release moment treat. Because after that, it's just a regular release, right? Folks seem to like it, and it is fun seeing folks react to moments in the video in real time. Wait a minute. That's still... Oh, I just didn't close this one yet. It's fun seeing people react to a video in real time. Oh, YouTube probably would have told you about the premiere Brave Othello if I'd actually, like... I set it to premiere pretty much instantly. I gave it, like, 5 minutes of advance notice just because I was wanting to kind of try it out. Next time, I will give it more of, like, at least, like, an hour advance heads up, or more. Okay. Bart's makes for a kind of doofy-looking red mage. I don't know why. Who knew it was possible? Oh, goodness. Sorry, I was just catching up with chat. Angel calling in the dark, walking up to the apartment, and someone fired off a firecracker really close by. Goodness. That would be startling. Some of y'all have been subscribing and I missed it. Street Luck, thank you very much for the 10 months. I know, it's like 10 whole dang months. I'm kind of surprised we've been streaming for that long too. I know the stream frequency has dropped quite a bit since the move just because of how the lack of time I have now, but glad squeezing these in now and then. It's fun to do. Alright, spell casting. What am I doing? I am preparing sprites, getting them all properly arranged and set up so I can upscale them all considerably, save them all out as individual PNGs, and have them ready for use in a video about the animation in Final Fantasy V. And just my luck, there's so many sprites and poses for every character in Final Fantasy V. Ah, yes, the lack of time you had now compared to all the free time you had before the move. That's fair. Part of it is that I have, like, at my, like, where I worked back in Seattle, I lived, like, an 8-minute walk away from work. So, like, very little time was lost in the commute. And now, now my commute is more like of a half hour, basically, either way. Which is not, it's like, that's not the worst at all, but it does mean that it's an extra hour out of my day basically that I no longer have, and I've found working at this place to kind of take a lot more energy out of me in a good way, like because I care about what I'm working on, I'm enjoying the work. It's just part of doing of working at a place that does a 4-day work week is that during those 4 days you're really like you're focused and you're getting stuff done. And so it ends up kind of like I come home and end up feeling a lot more like sort of like you left it all on the court, right? Like you're a lot more wiped out. Which, bummer for productivity on evenings, on weekday evenings, which I used to get more done there. But on the plus side, it means I've got Fridays almost entirely like free to be able to work on New Frame Plus stuff, and that's already made a big difference in how fast I've been able to get videos done. It's lovely. It's a good trade, in my opinion. That's your defend pose as a red mage, Bartz? I guess you're kind of braced. Oh, Dan is here. Hey, buddy. Hope you're doing good. Sorry, I'm scrolling up in chat here because I missed some things. Am I planning on doing a class Jobs of Stormblood vid? Yeah, eventually for sure. Absolutely. And how many more sprite-based Final Fantasy games are there? Basically just the two, Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy VI. And 6, while it has more characters, has fewer sprites per character. Thank God. And mostly, the only, like, it has... It kind of depends on how you're counting. It has more per character if... The only reason 5 has more per character is because of the job system. If it didn't have the job system, 6 would have way more sprites per character. But the job system has a... has an effect. And you're learning how to edit Banjo-Kazooie, like as in mod Banjo-Kazooie stuff? Ooh. Dan, I'm very curious what that could mean. Why are you modding Banjo stuff? You remember me saying I liked Final Fantasy V a little bit more than Final Fantasy VI? I'm on the fence. Job systems kind of tend to lead to really fun play and progression in Final Fantasy games, so 5 kind of has the advantage there. I can't decide if I like 5 better than 6, but I do think that I am more lukewarm on 6 than a lot of other Final Fantasy fans. Not that it is in any way a bad Final Fantasy, just that it's not like one of my personal favorite ones. Which is fine. I'm doing little stuff like removing note doors, level jiggy requirements, so I can do bingo races with it. Oh, that's so cool. I'm excited to hear how that turns out. All right, let's see. We got the defend pose. We got the hit react pose. Victory pose. Oops. There we go. There's our neutral pose, first of all. And our little victory huzzah cheer. Your first Final Fantasies were 14 and 13? Oh wait, what a roller coaster you went on. A literal roller coaster. Let's see. There's our wounded pose. We need to lower it down. There we go. If Dan and I were Danjo and Danzui, who would be in the backpack? I feel like in that case it would depend entirely on... I feel like it depends on, like, what we're doing. Like, if we're... If it's in a context of just, like, playing the game on a stream or a channel, it's totally, like, whoever's channel we're on is the one who wears the backpack. Is my thinking. Maybe we could switch like a Mario Kart Double Dash. Yeah, no, that works, I think. Even just in life, there are certain scenarios where one Dan is way more equipped for than the other. Dan definitely thought he was going in the backpack. Nah. I think we take turns in the backpack. Sometimes we each need To rest our legs. Although I guess it's the one in the backpack that's doing the running half the time, isn't it? Rest your arms then. Tired of punching things. And there's our red mage, I think. Spelled wounded weird. There we go. Okay, yep. Alright. Samurai. Which side character would Carrie be? Ooh. Now that I think about it, it's hard finding a character to hear yourself, a Banjo-Kazooie character to hear yourself described as or labeled as that doesn't feel like an insult of some kind. Like, you call someone a bottles, like, harsh. What a clungo. Yeah, who would Carrie be, though? Cheeto? I can see that. All right. Cheeto works. Ooh, that's red mage still. Don't need that. Jam jars because of the pink text. Yeah, Dan, I was doing the patron Q&A stream earlier this morning. It was a good old time. And someone posited the thought of, like, what if Toys for Bob was put in charge of a Banjo game? Like, Toys for Bob, the people who've been making the Crash games and the Spyro games lately. That's a pretty fun thought, man. Not that I think Rare couldn't do it, but boy, I feel like Toys for Bob could probably knock a Banjo game out of the park. That is a game I would play. Like, I refuse to believe that some kind of Banjo game is not in at least pre-production somewhere. That's really all I need. I just need to believe that that's the case. That fact is true somewhere out there. You gotta have faith. Still weird since I came from a computer side of the gaming hobby until I graduated college. How much stuff I missed that seems common for a lot of gamers my age and slightly younger. That just happens. Everyone's got their games that they were exposed to as a kid. Like, I missed out on a lot of the PC, like early PC gaming stuff because I didn't have because I didn't grow up with like PC games in my house. So a lot of those early classics, Dooms and stuff like that, like just totally missed them as a kid. What software am I using for editing sprites? This is just Photoshop, and like sprite editing is probably overstating what I'm doing here. Sprite prepping. Fortunately, I'm not having to actually do much editing of sprites. I did edit the NES era sprites a lot for those videos to get them looking consistent and correct. Let's see, we got hit react. It's getting hard to see. There we go. I'm hearing sounds. What are y'all doing? Well, like 13 minutes ago, Mammalay gifting a sub. Thank you very much. Chaos Carry, subscribe for 9 months. Thank you very much, and hello. 10 months for Zorlok Dark Soul. 10 months also for Quasimoto, and 10 months for Funvara. You're all too kind.
Pichu.
Also, Pichu's here. Welcome, Gelatin. Yeah, we try to have cozy streams generally. Especially the ones where it's just kind of hanging out and listening to music or doing mind-numbing sprite prep work. This is helping. I'm probably doing the work a lot more slowly, but it's way less mind-numbing, and that I can appreciate. Did I already resize these? Nope. Hey. Well, first of all, thank you for the 8 months, that guy at 777. But then also Chaos Carry, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. You goof. And of course. Baha Bali, thank you also for the 5 gifted subs.
Thanks,
Goofs, the lot of you.
Thanks, well.
Too kind. Oh, the Zelda video is amazing. I enjoy your content. Oh, thank you very much. Honestly, I'm glad you enjoyed. What was the Sonic bit sound? I think it's... I want to say 145. I think. 145. Okay, yeah. That's one of the Sonic bit sounds anyway. Actually, that's the only Sonic bit sound. There's another sound for other, like...
Yeah!
Like, yeah, that's the one. I'm Glowcloud. I'm messing with sprites to prep them for the animation of Final Fantasy V video that I'm starting work on now.
Yeah!
Well, continuing work on, I should say. And yes, the Choco Man, it is because the Sonic video is 1 hour and 45 minutes long. You got it in one.
Yeah!
Even though I don't play... Even though I don't play it anymore, one of these days, I'd like to hear your take on the animation of World of Warcraft. Yeah, I think WoW has some really good animation. Whoa, hey, thank you, Baby Root, for the 5 gifted subs. It's real kind of you. You're all being so generous for a stream with not a whole lot happening on it. But I appreciate it all the same. Yeah, I remember as somebody who'd been dabbling in Final Fantasy XI, like quite a bit when it came out as my first MMO, and not being super, like, amazed by the animation in it. Like, seeing WoW and being really impressed at, like, whoa. Like, MMO's animation can look like this. This is much more dynamic and like snappy, like dynamic posing and everything. This is way better. Yeah, we also had some really good animation for being as like simple as it has to be. Real impressive. I think I got all the victory poses and stuff. Yep. Okay. Wounded. Okay. Let's get you positioned right. And then left-handed attacks, and that'll be it for samurai. Five playable characters, 20-something jobs each. About how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, roughly. 11 sprites per job. It's gonna keep me busy for a while. But there's our samurai. Okay. Summoner next. What does Summoner Barts look like? Summoner Barts looks like this. So, a summoner. Basically. Waller, you played Final Fantasy XI back when it was still new? And I went back and tried it again a few months back and have no idea how I used to play it. Yep, that I have had that experience as well. And it's like been improved somewhat since back in the day, like in terms of user friendliness a little bit. Not a lot, just a little. All that to say, it's like less hostile now. In terms of the way it's balanced and like how much you can get done as a single player, it's infinitely less hostile. And yet. Walk pose. Summoner Barts does look pretty happy, doesn't he? Yeah! Hooray! I like it. Let's see. Summoner Bart's casting spell. Final Fantasy XI is one of the 3 numbered Final Fantasies I've not played, and I think it's the one that's going to stay that way. That is, I think that's fine. If you want to play Final Fantasy XI, step 1. No, you don't. Step 2. Install Final Fantasy XIV. Have a good time. Play if you enjoy it. Well, 1, if you don't enjoy it, definitely never touch Final Fantasy XI. But if you do enjoy it, play far enough to where you can get to Eureka. Dip your toe into that. If somehow that feels like, oh, I love this, then install Final Fantasy XI. And those are your steps. This is not to say enjoying Eureka is going to lead to enjoying 11. Because Eureka is, I can't remember who said it best, Eureka is Final Fantasy XI with rose-colored glasses. Strongly tinted rose-colored glasses. But, yeah. User interface for 11, not great. There's a lot about it that's not great. It's from a pre-World of Warcraft era of MMOs, and pre-World of Warcraft MMOs were hostile. And just user interface nightmare. And have, like... One could argue most MMOs don't have a ton of respect for your time, or they'll take as much as you're willing to give them. Pre-WoW MMOs had less than zero respect for your time. They hated your time. And they were not going to abide by you continuing to have time. Not on their watch. You dare have time? Not if EverQuest has anything to say about it. What is going on with this hit react? Is that right? No, that's right. Is that... Okay, I think this is the closed eye. Like the right eye, he's turned his head, horn pointing that way, and that's like a closed eye, so his head is tilted downward a bit. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah!
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like larger than the eyes often look when closed in these sprites by a pixel or so, which makes it like 1 pixel makes a big difference at this resolution, but I think that's what they're going for. So Dan, when you get to the PS1, Final Fantasy and Beyond games, which version will you play if the different releases? Original version, international re-release? Do they have significant changes, like how Final Fantasy 12 base and international have entirely different character leveling systems? I will play probably the original versions released in the States. Just because that's, in many cases, what I can get, like, access to. And in terms of animation, they're largely the same. I did wonder if this was a W mouth, which would be actually pretty cute. Like if it's sort of like the head was getting knocked sort of up and to the right a little bit, and we're just sort of seeing sort of like the W mouth, like, or an M mouth, I guess. That'd be cute as well, but I think it's probably an I. But yeah, no, for footage of PS1 era games, I've got all those captured on an original hardware, run through an upscaler, and looking nice, hopefully. I've got those banked already. I'll probably go back and start playing them again and getting some more footage, just because re-examining them before writing the script has like helped a lot for a Final Fantasy IV video, so I'll probably do that again, but... let's see, we got neutral pose. Not to judge you all for how you're spending your time, but do you know how many like incredible artists are streaming on Twitch right now? And you're watching this. You're watching like someone doing the video editing equivalent of paying their taxes. Respect. Tuning in for the chatter. That's fair enough. We all know what we got ourselves into. Baja Bali / Pichu. Oh, hey, I almost missed that gifted sub back there 9 minutes ago. Chaos Gary, thank you for that additional one. also playing a game at the same time. Hey, Yen, what are you playing? Feet on the ground there, buddy. There we go. Lurking and working. Yep. Now, Buffy McBuffalo, I'm very, very glad that you enjoy my voice, and very flattered too. But I any comparison to voice actor for Sid in 16 feels unearned. That's rarefied air. Oh, again, you're playing Rogue Legacy 1. Try to get refamiliarized so you can do an archipelago multi-world with it. Cool. How would a multi-world on that one work? That's neat. That could be fun. I could see that being a good time. Hey, thanks for the bits, Lord Trident. Heading out to play some more Dark Deity, doing a run on easy mode to grab some achievements. Have you a good time. Thanks for joining us. The problem is, I'm bad at Rogue Legacy. I, too, am bad at Rogue Legacy. So I understand. Looks like we're almost done with Summoner Barts here. I already got this one in. I need this one. There we go. All right. Summoner Barts in the books. Thief Barts. We're almost done with the Barts, actually. We've only got 3 more jobs to go. You've all heard me do voice acting work in Undertale. Don't act like I'm not good at it, Dan. Well, that's kind of you to say, and I have a great time doing it. I'm just saying, I don't know if that puts me at Final Fantasy 16 Sid status. I enjoy doing voices while playing a game on the channel. I have a blast doing that. So I'm real glad that you folks also enjoy that. But I know where my power level lies. Thief parts looks really similar to Ranger parts. I guess the Thief and the Ranger look pretty similar in general. Out of curiosity, what are my overall thoughts so far on 16, and how strongly would you recommend it to people old enough to play it? I am honestly, it's like I feel really conflicted on 16, and like probably more conflicted than I've felt on any Final Fantasy game I've played yet, which is impressive. Like usually I can decide pretty clearly whether I am into any given Final Fantasy game. Like, I feel like I can assess whether it is good or bad, whether I like it or dislike it, regardless of whether it's good or bad. Like, I can kind of figure that out. With 16, I feel like I still don't know. There's a lot about it that I really like, and a lot of aspects of it that are pretty disappointing or frustrating, and I cannot decide where I fall. It's just, I'm feeling a lot of extremes about it at once. So I'm still trying to decide. I was really on the fence as to whether to actually play it on the channel or not, just given it is so much more kind of dour and grim in vibe than most Final Fantasies, and that's not usually an energy that Playframe leans into super hard. But yeah, there is a ton to love in Final Fantasy 16. I am not at all, like, the people I see liking it love it, and I'm not surprised, and I don't think they're wrong to. I am, like I've said as much in the videos of the playthrough, Final Fantasy is super malleable. It can be almost anything. And so there is nothing wrong with Final Fantasy being more of an action game, nothing wrong with it being rated M, and more like serious or grim or anything like that either. At the same time, I also think that their adopting of the kind of Game of Thrones affect is actually shooting them in the foot narratively in several rough ways. And I think that that might have been a mistake on their part, which is unfortunate. Let's see, defend foes. No, hang on, cancel. What's the, oh, okay. Slightly narrower sprite then most of the hit poses. We'll... what would we count as center for this one? Let's... What's the walk pose look like? Let's err on the side of that is getting knocked back a little bit. I gotta draw the line of my perfectionism somewhere. I'm not gonna actually look up in-game how that sprite looks and where, like, and how far back it moves. Does it move back a pixel or not when getting hit? Literally no one cares about that. Leave it be, it's fine. I need to catch up on chat. Chat's been going for a bit. I miss the whimsy of Final Fantasy 12 and tactics, but with a serious political events. That is kind of how I'm feeling as well. Like, one thing that there is nothing about the story of 16 that I've seen so far that requires the Game of Thrones affect, which doesn't mean that it shouldn't have the Game of Thrones affect. Like, that's fine, but it doesn't require it. Final Fantasy 12 and Tactics exist without it, and I think that Final Fantasy Tactics and 12 also have a charm and warmth and funness still to them while still dealing with complex or heavy subject matter that 16's kind of lacking. I think there's a reason that a lot of people are really gravitating to Cid early on as a character. Like, Cid's great, for one. So, like, there's good reason to gravitate towards Cid, but also, he's about the only source of charm in the opening, like, 6 to 8 hours of the game. He's... Usually by that far in the game, you've got a party of Final Fantasy characters who are starting to interact, and it's then the interactions of those characters and the friendship dynamics, or the, like, frenemy dynamics that develop, like, where you start getting a lot of character and charm and appeal there. And I'm confident 16 will eventually get there, but early on, you've got Clive, who's kind of Cloud, but taken seriously. Like Cloud, but not a punchline. And I say that with love. Cloud as a super serious punchline is hilarious, and I love him. Torgal is a dog and is good, but that's not quite giving you the same thing. And then there's Sid, who is just an abundance of charm and charisma. And he's also the character who's being most friendly with and interacting with your main character. And even if the main character is not giving a whole lot back, because he's pretty cold and distant and removed and just an angry person at this point in his life, Sid is reaching out. And that reaching out like makes Sid is basically like just a beacon of charm in an otherwise very cold and harsh and dour space. And that, I think, makes people all the more eager to gravitate toward him as like, it's finally some charisma and like joy. And I think that more characters are going to surface to help fill that role and bounce that out. But it's a pretty dour start. I'm trying to think of more words than dour and grim. I'm just like, it's connotations of stuff like gritty and stuff like that that can sound like I'm mocking, like sound more derogatory than I mean for it to be. Bleak is another good one. Bleak's a good term. That's here. Now we got 3. I can put those on rotation. I should get back to sprite, quote unquote, editing. Look how happy thief Bartz is to be a thief. Taking joy in his work. If people want more serially with their series, they should check out Stranger Paradise. I should try that one at some point. I'm going to have to... I've asked this like a million times, and I'm pretty sure. Stranger Paradise has co-op, yeah? That's... Because if so, it feels like that's one that I should play... It does, great. That's one that I should play with Dan, even if it's just for fun on my own time. Because I think I'd need that to stick with it. I tried starting it, and it's it's so silly. It is such a silly thing that is taking itself so seriously. It feels like the opening 15 minutes of Stranger in Paradise feel like Sonic. This is going to sound so much meaner than I want for it to. It feels like Sonic Team taking an earnest crack at making a Final Fantasy game. Like, it has that sensibility of taking itself very seriously, but the dialogue and everything being so very clunky and absurd, and all the cinematography and the staging and everything just being like off and weird, and there's too many weird off aspects of what it's trying to do to even focus on any one of them. It's such a goofy thing. But, like, I can 100% see getting into that. I think what I really need is to play... What I need is to play that... To get far enough into the game to where the loop of the play itself can start hooking me. Because then I'll be probably in for whatever silliness the presentation has. I think I just got over... By the time I got to actual play, it felt very systems dense, and that was a little more at the time than I really felt like trying to wrap my head around. Playing with a friend, though, I think would help to get me over that hump. No, so Final Fantasy Origin was not made by Sonic Team, but it was made by Team Ninja, which is not... It, like... It does also feel kind of like Team Ninja. It still feels very Team Ninja as well, but, and I love a lot of Team Ninja stuff, too. But, especially in presentation of narrative and cutscenes, it is a trip. Yeah, Team Ninja is Ninja Gaiden and Nioh and... what are some of the other ones they've come out with recently? Did they do Wolong? I think that was somebody else. Yeah. Team Ninja and Ninja Theory are very, very different studios. Yeah, Metroid Other M was also Team Ninja. So, as you can see, they have Stranger to Paradise. See, I guess that's another way I could say it. That's less mean. That's also just literally true. Stranger to Paradise is Final Fantasy by way of Metroid Other M. That actually feels more on the nose. More on the nose and also more harsh. I felt meaner saying that. I do sincerely love that Strangers of Paradise has has fans like Hallow and others who will still like vouch for it, because like I think that's wonderful, and I do at some point want to get further in to try to like see what silliness it has, because I genuinely believe there's a good time in there. Not like Other M, God no, but Strangers of Paradise probably. Welcome, Sturdy Kiwi. And thank you for the 10 months. I've spent so long on Thief sprites. Did I forget the neutral one? No, I got it. It's just out of order. There we go. Okay. All right. That glamorous YouTuber life. Thief's done. Now for Time Mage. Time Mages look so wonderfully doofy. Like, what a silly little costume they've gotten themselves. Time Mages should not be allowed to dress themselves or choose their own outfits. The rest of the party is shirking in their responsibilities to help them out. Time Mage! Oh, Time Mage. He looks like a recolor of Wirt from Over the Garden Wall. He does, kinda. Like, if Wirt wore, like, took, like, the Green Ranger's chest shoulder pad thing and had a cape, and then he did a recolor, that's a Time Mage. They do very much look like a garden gnome. My first time playing through Final Fantasy V, when you got to the big X-Death fight where Galuf, it's like X-Death versus Galuf. I had Galuf as a Time Mage at the time, and it's just so very one-sided. Just this enormous, it looked like the Tower Knight from Demon Souls fighting David the Gnome. It did not look fair at all. In retrospect, the outcome of the fight was pretty easy to guess. Wait, is that right? That doesn't look right. That's attack. That's not casting. Get out of here. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. He's using time power to always make it be his birthday, hence the party hat. I like that. Thanks for joining Strike the Skyline. Have a good night. And Micah Bean as well. I'll go tonight until we've wrapped up all the Bart's stuff, and then call it in the evening, because I need to eat, but also figure out some of the emulator like settings and everything, and like capture settings for making sure I'm getting the footage in the quality I'm wanting. Never train your eyes to be able to detect frame drops at 60 FPS, because that's cursed knowledge you will never unhave. What is the purpose of this editing? This is preparing sprites for up-resing and exporting to use in a video about the animation in Final Fantasy V. So this is just some real pre-production grunt work for a new Frame Plus video. And Final Fantasy V has so many sprites. So it takes a lot longer than the previous Final Fantasy games. I would use an intent, like, I would use official console hardware, and then run it through an upscaler if this game was released in the States, but it wasn't. And also, like, when you're talking about 8 and 16-bit games, emulation is honestly just the easiest way to get sharp, decent-looking footage. I use original hardware as often as possible for capturing footage of things, but for games of that age, it is just so much easier to get something that looks nice with emulation. And I own so many copies of this game. I don't feel too bad about it. Also, one of the folks, I don't think they're in here in chat, but like one of the folks in the community helped me out with making a custom mod of the translation for Final Fantasy V, so that it has a lot of name spellings corrected up to like proper like current translation versions of Final Fantasy V and lots of stuff like that. Like they were a huge help. And I could not get that on an original Famicom cartridge. In fact, I couldn't get English text at all on the original Famicom cartridge. There's a lot of good reasons to use emulation for this one. Bryson Robot was one of the folks who was helping me out. I think the version I'm using, I need to look their name up. I want to say Eric Steinberg. I'm pretty sure it's the name. Or I might be thinking of one of the artists who helped me out with one of our merch things lately. I wrote it down. I'll be thanking them in the episode itself, because that was super kind of them. And it's going to make for a much better video, because it'll have Kryle's name spelled correctly and not spelled Kara. Victory! What a happy time mage. It just looks like... This looks like a child in their, in a costume that also includes their pajamas. Poor time mage. Maybe that's what it's... Maybe it's the sense of the chest shoulder piece thing looking like a bib. Maybe that's why I'm getting that vibe. No time mage. I feel like how when they're wounded, they basically just take a knee. Like, it's like, nah, I'm good. I'll just park here for a second. I'm okay. Did I see a layer 564 in there? How many layers do you have in this document? Yeah, probably about 500 something. And we're... Granted, this document... I think when I first started... Oh yeah, no, I've also got the Final Fantasy IV sprites in here. That might be why it's that many layers. That's probably it. It's going to be a lot bigger number by the time I'm done. Oh, that opacity change, come on. There we go. Alright, there's all the time mage sprites. Let's get the names correct. There we go. Okay. And now white mage. What am I planning to do with these sprites once I'm finished? I will, well, upscale them and export them as individual PNGs, which will be a whole process in itself for the video. And then I will have these documents, and I've basically started just sharing these Photoshop files with New Frame Plus patrons, so as just a free thing they can have if they want. Because someone might as well get additional use out of them. How did I feel about the ending of Ragnarok? Without getting into it and actually discussing any specifics, I thought, like, the game at large was lovely. Ending included. Just fantastic game. I'm incredibly impressed with both God of War titles. Still kind of hard to believe they exist. Is the Famicom 40 years old today? Wow. That's cool. This young medium's growing up. Bit by bit. White mage. That's a good looking. See, white mage is a good look for parts. White mage looks pretty good on everybody, honestly. I didn't even mean to make a pun with a bit-by-bit thing. Look at this. This practically just looks straight up like a Final Fantasy Tactics character. It's a good look. I'm glad y'all are getting to see this process here, because when that video finally is done, comes out, like, the sprites will feature heavily in it, but the speed at which they come and go on and off screen will be a little depressing. On screen, talked about briefly, gone. So it goes. If I didn't have a high tolerance for tedious, repetitive work, I wouldn't be an animator. To be an animator is to spend hours and hours and hours upon something that is seen and then over in seconds. Some sirens out there. Don't know if they're coming through at all. Victory! Really enjoying, as we go through these, I'm enjoying the victory sprites. They're so jubilant. We're in the home stretch here. That's a good spray too. I like the head turned toward us, but the left eye obscured by the hair. That works really well. There we go. Okay. So there's White Mage. Huzzah. And that's all of the Bard's jobs. Not bad. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. 8 of them done. Only took about an hour and a half. Granted, I was going pretty slow because I was just chatting half the time, but still, not bad. Now there's 20-something jobs for Lena, 20-something jobs for Galuf, 20-something jobs for Ferris, 20-something jobs for Cryle, and their world map sprites, and that's it. So I'll be doing this for a bit. But I'll probably do some more of it on streams, like next week or something. Because I'll probably be doing this for a bit. Yeah, no, it is a little nightmarish. But I knew what I was getting into with Final Fantasy V and to a lesser extent 6. Once we get up to 7, there's gonna, like, writing those episodes from then on will be a lot more complex because there will be so much more to cover, but at least I'll just be working with footage all the time. And not have to do all the sprite stuff. Not bad, though. So many jobs. Whew. Am I going to do the world sprites for the status effects, or are they not in the original game? I don't think I count them in the count. Although, I may grab some of the status effect stuff. Like, not the ones that are just color change, stuff like Poison, because that's just like a palette swap, that's not new sprite art. But then there's like the frog status effect, And I think the pig status effect too, or was that just in Final Fantasy IV? I think that was just in 4. 5 definitely has a Toad status effect though, and Toad has like a full set of combat sprites. I'm scared how long the 3D game videos are going to be with how long the 2D game videos have already gotten. They will definitely get longer, but I think it'll be somewhat balanced a bit by the fact that I'll be zooming, kind of like zooming out a little more to cover just the breadth of animation, just because these games will start exponentially increasing in animation scope and quantity with each one past from 7 onward. And talking about every single little animation asset in the game at that point just becomes like pointless. So I think we start talking about categories of animation more so, and style and aesthetic, and like there'll be more to talk about, but we'll be talking about it in broader strokes for the most part, which will help. But yeah, I even doing that, I think these videos are going to get longer and longer because there just get to be so many systems and so many kinds of animation that these games have as we go. There's thousands and thousands and thousands per game. $10 to $11 was an improvement? No. 10 was better than 11 for sure on the animation front. 11 is one of the weakest points on Final Fantasy's animation history. But 12 is a considerable improvement over 10 on the animation front. Like, night and day. It's 10 is I love 10. 10 is one of my favorite Final Fantasies, but on the character animation side, 12 blows it out of the water. I'm so excited to talk about all these. It just takes so darn long to talk about each one. It takes a while to get there. Yeah, no, I think 12 is... I think I agree with you talking about it. 12 is the first one that has really excellent character... the first time Final Fantasy has really excellent animated character performance in cinematics. 10 is a good start. Like, as a first time having to do cutscenes that actually are filmed kind of more like cinematics with voices and like motion capture performances and acting, like that's so many new things they have to try to figure out how to make work and integrate into the games they make. And it's a strong, solid start, but then the confidence that 12 comes in with after that is wild. And then 13 is, like, I think the acting and performances are better in 12, but 13 comes in so hot with, like, every single story scene is fully bespoke mocap performance. Like, there's no modular cinematic scenes. There's no conversation systems. 13 is just fully animated for every cinematic moment thing. It's, yeah. It's all of it. It's impressive. It's bonkers. And it's telling that the sequels to it do not do that. But also 13 doesn't, like... There's not a lot of NPCs you can just talk to randomly. It's like there's cutscenes and then there's running down corridors and fighting enemies. But there's not, like, places where you can go and just talk to a bunch of NPCs and have additional conversations. So, like, I guess that's the trade-off there, right? Well, the animation of the series is fun to talk about. It's telling in that, like, the scope of fully mocapping and performing every single narrative scene is just prohibitively expensive and huge in scope. So that like follow-up sequels started making a lot more use of simple modular systems and kind of just characters standing across from each other and mouth flaps and conversation system type stuff. A lot of which doesn't look super great, but it allows them to have a lot more scenes and character dialogue interaction, stuff like that. It's better for the games, I think, that they do that. But it's definitely a downgrade in animation presentation. It's a more budget way to go about it, which makes sense for direct sequels in a series that was probably getting diminishing returns. A lot more rapid diminishing than they were probably hoping when they set out initially, creating 13 and all of the following games they were hoping to make with 13. Anyway, I'm really rambling now. I'm gonna go get some water and chill out for a little bit. I got a lot of recording to do this weekend. Thank you all very much for watching, though, for joining me today. This has been a good old time. Food also, yes. Also a very, very good idea. Who to raid? Ooh, Will is on. That could be fun. Barry's on too, but I haven't been streaming at the same time as Will in ages. Let's raid Will. He's doing some Sea of Thieves. That sounds like also a very good chill time that could at any moment cease being a chill time very abruptly. But thank you all so much for joining on. This is fun. I will be doing a lot more of this work, and I'll probably stream some of it in bits and pieces just to hang out and add some variety so I don't lose my mind. But thanks for keeping me company and helping to make this time pass a lot more. Have a good rest of your weekends, too. And I'll see you later on for another stream or something. Say hi to Will. Enjoy some pirate times. Glad you enjoyed the art streams. Goodbye, everyone.